Bio oil made my pregnancy go by with one less thing to worry about. I didn't get a single stretch mark. The skin on my swollen belly was smooth and beautiful the whole way through.
The world of today may have changed, yet our belief has always stayed the same. Everyone deserves the good. That's why we've changed for the better. We've made ourselves better, so we can reach those who have just begun to chase after their dreams. So we can give women the light by which to guide their families to a better tomorrow. So we can realize the hope that every Filipino harbors and move forward, leaving no one behind. We're better today, because today is what shapes the future. And in the future, we see everyone leading a lifetime for good. In life, a lifetime for good.
Strong at independent, lahat ay kinakaya para sa anak, negosyo para sa buong pamilya. Kayod hanggang umaga, todo ipon ng pera, pero ang kinikita, sapat nga ba? But money ain't a problem, there's a way that you can handle it. Tamang edukasyon, pangarap mo'y makakamit. Pagpaplano ang solusyon, paghandaan mo na, magsimula na ngayon. Empower na Pinay sa lahat ng bagay, halika na't matutong sumabay. In control, independent, you can make your money grow. You're a shiro, be a shiro. Empower ng Pinay sa lahat ng bagay, halika na't matutong sumabay. In control, independent, you can make your money grow. You're a shiro, be a shiro. Inako, Pilipina, inka ba? Inka ba? Inako, Pilipina, inka ba? Tara na, Pilipina, tara na, tara na, tara na, Pilipina, tara na. Be financially smart for your family and future. Inako, Pilipina, inka ba? Inka ba? You're a shiro, be a shiro. It's never too early, no it's never too late. Gotta save and invest now, no more reason to wait. Simulan mo na, paghandaan ng future. Ano man ang mangyari, ikaw ay secure. Mga bigla ang kailangan para sa kalusugan. Mga pagsubok ng buhay ay kaya mong lampasan. Ikaw ay confident sa iyong kinabukasan. Ikaw ay prepared in life. Oh, empower ng Pinay sa lahat ng bagay, halika na't matutong sumabay. In control, independent, you can make your money grow. You're a shiro, be a shiro. Empower ng Pinay sa lahat ng bagay, halika na't matutong sumabay. In control, independent, you
as we know it has changed, and the digital space is where most of our lives happen now. But where do we lean on for our kids' education? Are we getting the right help that our kids need online? Introducing Chalkboard, the online tutoring marketplace designed to connect learners with expert tutors. With just 4 easy steps: find, match, book, learn. Through Chalkboard's website, parents and learners can find tutors based on subject expertise, schedule, and rates. Chalkboard ensures that you find only the best and top caliber tutors. Match with tutors depending on your preferred rate and schedule. Select a tutor that matches your needs and send a session request. Once the tutor accepts a session request, you can now pay using Chalkboard's secure online payment options. With its optimized learning tools, Chalkboard allows for smooth video conferencing, effortless sharing of screens, and easy sending of file attachments. In today's world where everything is done online, Chalkboard doesn't stop in making sure quality education is accessible to anyone, anytime. So, sign up now at Chalkboard. Chalkboard, where learners and tutors meet.
This episode is presented by BioOil and In Life, with major sponsors Chalkboard, Ibex, and Cayenne Philippines.
Welcome to the Women Forum Q&A. It's a pleasure having every one of you. Let's start the first question to Secretary Briones. You came from Negros. So what made you become educator person? Who inspired you when you were young?
I come from a dynasty of teachers. My parents were teachers, relatives were teachers, and the usual career choice in faraway places was the teaching profession because it's highly respected.
You went to England to pursue your doctorate and at the same time Harvard at that young age. So what happened? How you qualified to do that from Philippines to go there that time? That's not easy.
I just conformed or met the standards set by England and the standards set by Harvard. No exemptions, no special favors, no special requests from powerful people. I just applied and I was recommended by my university. I finished my accounting degree magna cum laude at the age of 17. By 3 or 4 years old, I was already writing on banana leaves using sharpened bamboo sticks during the war years. So it was not all that difficult for me to go to England and to Harvard.
And also you're an economist, secretary. So what made you go and work in the government instead going to a corporate world?
I was trained to be an accountant, but I was invited to join government by the then chairman of the Commission on Audit. I asked him a very tough question in an open forum about auditing and the role of public auditors. And after that, he invited me to join him so I can participate in the policy-making activities of the Commission on Audit at that time, because we were initiating very sweeping reforms in audit during the time of Chairman Tantrico. In all my positions, Rebecca, I never applied for any of the positions I have held all my life.
So what's your best advice, and not only to women, secretary, to achieve whatever they want in life, that everything's possible?
Well, the most important lesson I learned from my father, who is a teacher, was that there are 3 kinds of people. There are people who see that things need to be done, and they don't have to be told They don't have to be ordered or instructed or maneuver to get their way. They just go ahead and do what needs to be done. There are those who need to be told once, to be ordered by a boss. The third is, even if you repeat again and again and again, nothing happens. And so I strove to be in the first group of people whom my father, who is a teacher, described almost on a daily basis to our classes in high school.
So Kate, also you're a mom, and I know you're also a single mom. But what made you become a GM and running a big organization, because you have thousands of people? Can you share with us how can you inspire women?
I think I was chosen to be GM of this company because of my experience in the network marketing business. Long time ago, I think that was 20 plus years ago, I was the top distributor of a company called Niken. And I joined that company because it sold magnetic sleep systems, Rebecca. And that sleep system helped change the life of my son, John. You see, John was kidnapped for ransom at the age of 8. And while he was held hostage for 9 days and then we paid the ransom, he was returned to us. What happened was he suffered a severe trauma. Okay, he could not sleep well, could not sleep. He was afraid to sleep because he said, I will just dream that the bad men are taking me. So he refused to sleep. Of course, it can't be that a child can't sleep, because we know that sleep is part of good health. So when a friend introduced that sleep system to me, I said, okay, I will spend this huge amount. And when my son slept on that bed, he slept so well, deeply, restfully, the first night, the second night, the third night. And so when I started to talk about what this bed did for him, I didn't realize that I was on the road to becoming like you, somebody who would sell sleep systems, like the way that you sold pots and pans, for example. No, I became top distributor of that company for 3 consecutive years, and then was elevated to the DSAP Hall of Fame. All right. And then after that, another American company discovered me and asked me later on, why don't you become GM for this? This was now Synergy Worldwide.
Okay.
I stayed with them for 3 years. You know, I realized that it's more difficult to, renovate an old house, diba? Than building something from scratch, because that was my experience in Synergy. So 3 years later, Kayani found me and they invited me to open Kayani Philippines here. And this was 8 years ago. And that's how I started in this.
But then, Kate, you have 8 children, right?
Right, yes.
How you raise your children being a single mom and running an organization?
By the time I was running these organizations, most of my children were already mature adults, no?
I see.
Like it was like my youngest child, Chrissy, now she's already 26, I think. So it's not difficult anymore, no, to focus on the business, because I have already given the best years of my life to raising my children, loving them to excellence. That's my motto. I love my children to excellence so that they can be the best that they can be.
Now, Tunichi, you are in the BPO. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that you also want to help and inspire, especially not only working, but also starting a business. So tell us also how you work, what's your big vision also with the BPO industry? Kasi you've been with them for many years in that industry, di ba? Isa ka sa pag-uumpisa at paglalaki ng ating bansa because of that. So,
grabe naman yun. Parang,
totoo yun.
ni-reveal mo yung age ko.
Okay. Because you started 12.
Correct. No, I have been with the BPO industry since 2000.
There's always someone older than you.
True. I've been in the BPO industry since 2003. And I started my career from graduation as a telephone customer service representative, or actually a collection officer in Citibank. So I was there for 5 years. And then the BPO world was presented to me and I grabbed an opportunity. I was very lucky because it was the perfect time to join BPO. It was very young then. And so when I joined, I had the fundamentals or the basics of, the work ethics that I learned in City. And so a lot of those things I applied. I started as a supervisor in a BPO and then, eventually worked my way up. So over the years, I learned so much. I was blessed with so many really good mentors. And I also came across very challenging individuals. And across all of that, range of personalities, I definitely learned something from them. I have developed so much passion. And, it has been an advocacy for me to promote BPO, what it does for the country and what it can do to its people. When I was taught how to fish, I fed my family, right? And then, I developed that. I looked around me and I could see how much it is starting to uplift the lives of so many Filipinos. And that inspired me. It really did. And sometimes, when I say that, because I am part of, I work in Nearsol, but my other hat is I'm one of the elected board members for the Contact Center Association of the Philippines. And you do that for free, right? And people ask me, why do you do it? Because I am so passionate. I want to make sure that this industry is available to generations after me because of the opportunity. I was able to go to places I did not even dream about. My pay it forward is really to do the same, to mentor people, to provide opportunities and make sure that these opportunities will be available to them. So, and it's very fulfilling to see, when you with people, because we work with thousands, right? Like you go to one center, like I used to run one center as a site director, and that center would have 2,000 employees. So you just walk around and have a very simple conversation. You won't even know it, but it touches lives. My typical day, when I walk around the call center, I ask them how they are. If they're not looking good, I ask them what's wrong. It's part of me. It's a distressing activity for me to ask about other people's lives.
That's so good. Thank you with that, Tonette. And now let's go to Doreen. Like, my gosh, Doreen has amazing story also how she helped the Mangyans. Being educator also, kasi di ba nag-aral ka as a seminarian, yun ang gusto mo. And then you really went to Mindoro Mangyans at nakita mo talaga about that story by killing child.
The Mangyans are animists. So they worship the sun, a river, a rock. And to appease the spirits, when a cursed baby was born, a cursed baby is somebody who is born and suddenly when he faced the west where the sun sets, this baby is declared by the community as a cursed baby and he needed or she needed to be sacrificed to the spirits. So I didn't know about that before I went to the tribe. But when I learned that, the message that I received is when you see a need, you are the solution. I was scared the first time, but I knew that something has to be done. So that started of me looking around to see what's the need. So if there's a need for water project, for potable water, I look for people that can help. If there's a need for addressing malaria concern, because Mindoro is the second malaria capital of the Philippines. If there's a need for education, like many of the Mangyans, I met one boy. He was 14 years old and he was still in kindergarten. So I said, Arcon, bakit? Why are you still in kindergarten but you're 14 years old? So he said that he needed to walk 6 hours a day from the mountain to the school. And so that's the start of me dreaming for a dormitory school. So because I don't have the money, so I look for people to help. And so now we have a dormitory school in that DepEd Katutubo Mangyan School in Mindoro. So that's what I did. When I received the message, when you see a need, you are the solution. So just start looking for the needs and try to address the needs in the community. One of my dreams is really to have a heritage center in the place, because I also know as an educator that, their literature, their songs, and the preservation of the culture is equally important for me. So preserve what is good, but discard what is evil in the culture.
So basically, how many women or how many people na ang natulungan niyo sa community ninyo?
We now have 40 communities.
Okay.
And in these 40 communities, we have helped women for livelihood programs. Like many of them have sari-sari store, kambing project, chicken project, the things that they can handle. And what I love about this is the Mangyan tribes is a patriarchal society. Meaning to say the voice of women is not so heard or not given platform to be heard. But since I went there as a woman leader, and they saw how I interacted with the tribal leaders, all these are male, and they saw how I navigated my being a woman leader, interacting with men, that I was able to convince the tribal leaders that women have to be given the opportunity to earn their own keep, to get into business, to be educated, to be enrolled in the Saling Leadership Institute, because before that they would not allow women to be included in the institute. And so I guess it's modeling. It's very important, I think, Ate Rebecca, that the young people of today will have models. Because if they can see models, they can mirror themselves and hopefully dream to be like us. So that's what I think.
Yeah. Actually, Miss Kate Bliss, you actually can really, di ba Kate, pwede mo silang tulungan doon dahil yung mga project ginagawa, entrepreneurship program, mga ganon. And I think,
Yes. Also, aside from the entrepreneurship program, Rebecca, we also have Kayani Caring Hands.
Exactly,
So
di ba
we
yun?
also do outreach work.
Yeah. And then with Tunit naman, di ba yung trabaho, yung mga online na, you can teach them in terms of yung mga call centers, English.
Yes.
I think so many things that you guys can work together.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, actually, as I'm listening to all of them, I'm starting to have, different kinds of ideas. So we can probably do that later after this.
And Secretary Briones is also Secretary, di ba? Dahil, di ba, our goal is to be we are number one also already BPO in the world. But maybe we can keep increasing that through DepEd. I'm sure yung English literacy natin. Di ba? So ang ganda nun?
Yes. And we have initiated also yung dinescribe ni Doreen dormitory type of live-in arrangement for the pupils who don't have to walk long kilometers to be able to go to school. They stay right where the site of the school is. And this is being done in Mindanao and many parts of the Philippines. And what Doreen is doing is a very inspiring example for us to emulate and perhaps set as an example. Thank you, Doreen.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah, see? So with that naman, Doreen, alam mo, ang ganda rin ng story ni Jenica kasi ang makakatulong naman sa is the water system. Kasi in Mangyan, for example, or anywhere in the Philippines, yung clean water.
Yeah, we'd definitely love to work with you, especially sa mga katutubo. No, it's really such a huge need, access to clean water because they're very dependent on open water sources. So either rivers, streams, they fetch, collect, and then drink directly. So, just from providing them with filtration technology will already help alleviate and mitigate them from getting sick. So kapag hindi na nagkakasakit, di ba, mas nagkakatrabaho, you have to have your health to be able to access other opportunities like livelihood and education. And it's really the goal for us. It's for everybody to have access to clean water.
And that's very important, Jenica. When I was a kid, kasi syempre galing probinsya, you drink the water, hindi mo lang malinis. So di ba uso nun ang bulate? I'm sorry, I have to tell the reality. Mga bulate tatay, tapos lumalabas, di ba? Yung tipor ng tawag doon. And now, hanggang ngayon, malaking tulong pa rin yun. So how you reach out to the community?
We really work with community leaders. It's so important that the community has ownership of the project and that they actually identify that access to clean water is the problem. They have to identify that, the water is really causing people to be sick because if we dictate, especially if in mga katutubo villages, it's really hard because they have different beliefs. For example, we've gone to a village without proper education. They don't want to use the rainwater because it's pi or ihi daw of the gods. They don't want to use it for drinking, and it's one of the cleanest sources that you'd have. You just boil it or through the filtration systems, and it's drinkable. It's cleaner than your typical river or stream because you have so many contaminants flowing into that. But it's so important that education and also working with community leaders, people that the villagers, yung mga katutubo that they trust, because you can't be dictating things for them. So we work with a lot of community leaders, grassroots communities, like potentially Miss Doreen's organization, really organizations that work on the ground, and then we collaborate with them and come in as provider for clean water solutions.
Also, di ba, anywhere in Metro Manila also, di ba meron na tayong mga Manila Water, kahit na you use your faucet and you still buy the bottled water. So what can you do with that to save, to help people also save money? Kahit sa mga BPOs, di ba, yung mga buildings parang hindi na bumibili ng mga bottle because of the environment. Ang daming mga bote, it's garbage. So how can you help with that?
So actually for the Odette typhoon response, it's such a logistical nightmare to be flying, trucking, shipping gallons of water to people from Manila to Visayas and Mindanao. They already have sources of water to drink, to use. It's just not potable. So the technology is able to provide that. So you're able to limit the use of single-use plastic by using it. And in the same way in households. Actually, Manila water and Maynila, the water that comes out is already treated. It's drinkable. It's sometimes lang pipes, are rusty. So it comes out of your tap, not potable. There are, existing systems and technology that will help you lessen the use of plastic. People just have to be proactive about it. But another reality that needs to be addressed is not a lot of households are able to afford getting connected. It's 5,000, 7,000 to get connected to a Manila or, a central treatment provider. And so that's why the technology that we use is point of use, and it doesn't need electricity. It's just a filtration system that you can attach to a bucket and people can use. So we're also looking
affordable ba yan?
Yes, it's just $850. It's cheap, but it's not cheap pattern for some households, and that's why we're looking into a microfinance model so people can pay tingi installments, so then they can actually have access to something, because they end up paying so much more. If you buy 25 pesos a day sa refilling station, you end up paying so much more than someone who's connected to a water service provider, but they don't have the capital lang to initiate and shell out at the get-go. So it's a model that we're working on.
So Christine, also all the way from Boston, but you're right now in England.
Yes. So I'm currently in London. I moved from Boston. I've been in Boston for 10 years. I was educated in the Philippines. I was born in the Philippines, went to UST there for accounting. And so I've been an accountant for 17 years before I founded my startup. It's an online tutoring company for Filipinos around the world. So I'm actually here in London for school. I received a scholarship from London Business School. So I'm doing my master's.
Ayan, secretary. Ayan, see? London, right? Ngayon, meron ka nang nadala dyan ngayon, na-inspire you. So, like guys, you've been very educated. And then actually Christine, okay, let's go back to Christine. She started a platform because of education. Can you say more about that? Like why you started that kind of program?
It's a really pandemic baby. I was involved also in another platform, digitizing some lesson modules for teachers. But then I'm actually a mother. So I have a 4-year-old and 2 years old. So, and then I knew I would be working from home. So it kind of resonated with me, like what the environment will be at home when the pandemic happens and we will all migrate to online distance learning. So I wanted something, an on-demand assistance during that very critical period. Education is very special to me too. My father is an OFW. So all his money was spent for us to get a good education.
Thank you. So now all of you are educated. But what's your best advice then sa kasi karamihan ng mga Filipino they're not? So what would be your best advice or how you can inspire them to really be successful also like you guys?
It's interesting because in the BPO industry, we try so hard to put training, a lot of education in front of our workers. And as a culture, as a people, it feels like when we do that, not very many grab the opportunity. And it's sad because it is not inherent in us to keep upgrading what we know, right? It's very different from the culture we've seen, for example, in India, where you put a training there, everybody gravitates to it. And it's something that we need to keep talking about, because especially now in this day and age where technology don't need to go anywhere, you know, it's made available to you. I would say that I would endeavor to talk a little bit more about education and what it can do for you wherever you are. One of the things that I was actually working on, Rebecca, and this is separate from what I do in BPO. I was just inspired in BPO that we're creating a portal for our kasambahays. You know,
Okay.
I know and I've seen that over the years, all workers are being upskilled, but our kasambahays are not being upskilled. Right?
Totoo
So
yun.
one of the things, you know, we've been trying to upgrade their lives. We're trying to digitize how we pay them by doing, you know, GCash or whatnot. But really, from a training perspective, have we focused on providing them that so that they can become better kasambahays and later on maybe find something out there that is very related to what they're doing. But no one, it feels like, actually, I spoke to the Department of Labor about that, and they were very inspired with that. So I think, you know, it should not be limited to, you know, the folks who have the opportunity to take it. But I think as a culture and, you know, as a community, we need to reach out to people whom we have neglected for so long. In every type of work, there is an opportunity to upskill and upgrade. And that does not discount, you know, those kinds of workers.
Yeah, that's
Rebecca?
so true. Yes, Secretary.
If I may join the conversation, there are church institutions and schools which conduct special training for kasambahays. This is because many children grow up more with their kasambahays than perhaps parents who have to work. And you can tell that by listening to the way children talk, the way their values are formed, etc., and how we adore the kasambahays. For example, I know church institutions who have training programs for kasambahay dahil sila ang nagtututor ng mga bata. And they spend a lot of time with the children. So it's picking up. But I believe that it should also be made a policy. Members of households should all help out, because you cannot impose such responsibility on the parents alone, because the parents are also working. Just listen to the accents of the children, or the way they speak, and you can tell who is tutoring them. Pero lang ito, Rebecca, limited pa, because voluntary ito on the part of parents, on the part of church institutions. So siguro we have to institutionalize this practice, because as you yourself said, they also need to learn. A mother cannot tutor a child right now in the way math is taught, or even sciences. I would make a very poor tutor, because I memorized multiplication tables and so on. So, but now you are taught to think critically and logically, which is very, very different. So dapat i-institutionalize natin ito. And I quite agree with the view. We have them, then we take care of them. It is our responsibility to take care of them as well, because they take care of our children.
And that's the reason why, Christine, that's also your project, right? Mga kasambahay din, kinuha mo yung platform na yun to really help about English.
Yeah. Some grandparents wonder, where did the English of this child come from? Or where did the diction of my apo come from when I was educated abroad, etc. And they don't have to search high and low for the answer. The policy na natin. Diba?
Yeah, Secretary, come on, go for it. How about you, Kate? Yung when you were your kids, ikaw ba nag-alaga sa kanila or you have a nanny also?
When they were little, they had nannies also. I think that's the tradition in the Philippines, di ba? Pero alam mo, Rebecca, mahalaga ring pagtuunan natin ng pansin ang ating mga anak, the children, no? Kasi formative age yan eh. And having raised 8 children over these 40 plus years na, no? I realized that mahalaga to teach them, ako in my experience as a mother, the beauty of quiet prayer, of connecting to God, no, in the depths of their being, of developing a personal relationship with God. Mahalaga yun eh. Why? Because parents cannot be with their children all the time. But I tell them, Jesus can. He knows what you're doing more than Santa Claus. Diba? So, and then, ang mahalaga dyan is when they have that deep personal relationship with God, no, they're able to make correct, right decisions. You can trust them to make right decisions. See, that's important. We cannot be deciding for our children all the time. As you said, when we empower people, we have to make them independent. We have to make them think critically, analyze things, and be able to decide and stand up for their decisions. So I think, the quiet prayer that I've taught my children when they were little has helped them. Number 2, it will help them in their daily life, no? How to make decisions on a daily basis, but also how to face limit situations. Ang limit situation, yun yung tinatawag kong when you're pushed against the wall and you are faced with a crisis like nawalan ka ng trabaho or may namatay sa inyo. Diba? Or nasunog ang bahay mo or something like that. Or in the case of my son, when he was kidnapped for ransom, that was a limit situation. What carried him through the dark night? His relationship with God, because as a little boy, John had learned how to pray that way.
Wow! Ang galing naman! Beautiful! Thank you! But meron pa akong tanong. Kasi we are all married. You're single, right? You're all successful women. But when you go home, do you carry that crown as a CEO? Or you put that iniiwan nyo at bahay, ordinaryong babae kayo? Come on, Secretary, start kayo doon.
Of course, we know before the Spaniards came, women ruled. They were healers. They were warriors. They headed kingdoms and so on. And then when the conquerors came, they were put inside a convent, according to Carmen Guerrero Nakpil, for 300 years. And this was followed by 50 years of Hollywood. And then, ako may dagdag. I always add something to famous quotes. Ang dagdag ko yan, we also spent 10 years in a prison, a Japanese prison. So that explains the mix of pressures and stresses that a Filipino woman is subject to. But she has to make a choice. And I envy you all, infants, because you have already decided to make your choice, where the earlier generations of women more than 300 years ago didn't have any choice at all, even if historically they were equal with men. They could own property, they could divorce, they could rule, they go to war, etc. And they are also healers. Pero they were placed inside the convent 300 years. Wash out yan lahat. So this is, I'm very grateful for this occasion, because I deal mainly with women in government. And it's good to see women in the private sector, in civil society, who have taken over the reins of many of the activities in society itself and are leading. Now you're asking, how do you deal with our respective spouses? Well, some succeed, some don't. And the woman retains her identity. She is woman enough by herself. That's
okay. So sa bahay,
I have a supportive spouse, but it does not work for everybody, of course.
Okay. So sa bahay, yung pag umuwi kayo, you serve your husband being a wife, yung inaalagaan yung mga you being mom nung maliliit pa sila, or you're like really the boss na do this, do that, ikaw ang bahala dyan. So how you deal with that, Secretary?
Hindi naman. It's more of sharing of duties and telling of stories and giving each other advice, because we happen to have the same ideological framework and objective, which is nationalism. So shared shared belief yan. So but I'm fortunate. I'm not saying that it will work for everybody. Yes.
Beautiful.
But
yeah.
Nakakaingit kayo. And I really envy you, because all of you made your own decisions. And that's very inspiring for young girls, especially in many parts of the country. Girls should know that they can handle themselves. They have their own lives and they are respected. Balik tayo sa colonial role ng mga women.
Dapat na, power women. Yeah. Now with Tunit, magandang tanongin natin kay Tunit kasi married with a foreigner. So, Tunit, how you able to fall in love with the
Well, actually, to answer your question earlier, like, I serve. Well, I'm not the best person serving my husband, but I do serve him not because I'm his wife, but because I want to, because it's my language of love.
Yes.
It's a little bit different for us because, like you mentioned, my husband is foreigner, but we met each other in the capacity of, first of all, the BPO world, or the corporate world. So he is a big influence. He's one of my biggest mentors. Actually, one of my best mentors. And I admired him so much. I married him. So
you married him or he married you?
He married.
Well, okay, may question na yung secretary.
So lucky. I mean, I think we have equal respect for our level of intellect. At the same time, on a personal level, culturally, it felt all very natural for us. So it's not the same for a lot of people, but for us, I think, we were operating in the same wavelength. He admired me for what I could do, and I really admired him, and I learned so much from him. So that was, to me, was just really flowed very well.
Yeah. Well,
I knew that was gonna come up.
How about you, Doreen? How you fell in love with your husband, and who's you help your husband at work, at home? Work, or you do more work? Paano? How it works?
Well, I am so blessed, just like our Secretary Briones, that I'm married to a man who's not intimidated. My husband has also a PhD in the UK. I'm finishing my PhD in Oxford. And so this dynamics of mutual respect and celebrating each other's strengths and differences, I think it's beautiful. And I think more models like us should be out there to be known by young men and women. Because I always tell my students, sabi ko, an intelligent woman knows how to appropriately conduct herself in whatever context or hats that he has. So if you're a mother, of course, you be the best mother that you can be. If you're a wife, you be the best wife that you can be. And so to be blessed with a supportive husband, I think, is the key. Because if you married the wrong one, you will be miserable and you will not fly as a wife. So my message for our young women out there who are listening to us right now is the key for your success is to marry the right man. And hopefully you will be discerning, you will be intelligent enough to go for character. Because character will sustain you for the rest of your lives together.
Christine, did you find the man that you want to marry, or he found you?
So we found each other as well. I think similarities attract in this instance, and everything Doreen and Tunichi and Secretary Brianna said, I agree with all of them very passionately, strongly. You really need to find a partner that supports you. I can't say that my husband is invested in me as well. He allowed me to give up my job in Boston to pursue my studies here, and he supported what I'm doing for the Filipinos. We're investing a lot there. So having that person who invests in you and believes that you can do so much goes a long ways. And then at home, if I may answer that too, I think there's a beauty to in marrying foreigner. So I'm married to an American, and we each have our own responsibilities at home. He's not like, oh, you're the woman, you have to cook. Just last night he cooked our dinner because I was on a meeting, and then we just juggle that depending on each other's schedule. And also, I want to kind of answer the previous question about educating people and how maybe it's not everyone in the Philippines is rich or appreciate the value of education. I think the media also has a role in this, because I think a lot of success stories in the Philippines focus on celebrities as well as families who have already wealth, but not so much those people who have their own success through education. So we kind of have to kind of celebrate that, talk about those stories as well, that it can happen. And many of my classmates are actually Indians. Many of them are engineers. And medyo nagsiselos ako so kapag I hear those stories, because I think we're very much competitive and have that standard as well in the Philippines. And we just have to kind of go back and see how we can do that as well, because they were very highly technical in the Philippines.
Wow. Now with Jenica naman being single, ano naman ang natutunan mo with these beautiful women now that you can take home?
Oh, I learned a lot, but I also would like to say that I learned a lot from my parents. They really inspire me. They have a really good marriage. They support each other, and they provided me, my sisters, a platform for us to be able to pursue opportunities that have been, afforded us, because it's tough. It's tough when your priority, it could be supporting your family in other situations, and you're not able to do other things. So I do appreciate my parents a lot for exposing us to a lot of things. My mom's the doctor. She does lots of medical missions. So I see them. I see the culture of giving that Kate mentioned. I see it a lot in my parents. It has definitely trickled down to us as their children. And so the work that I do is in the development sector. It's not as lucrative. It's not corporate, but it's in the humanitarian sector. It teaches people to be human. It teaches people to care about other people. It doesn't have to be, what happens to others doesn't have to be happening to you for you to care and to do something about it. So, and I've seen that in my parents and in the lives they live. So I do hope to find a similar marriage as most of you have celebrated, and then also similar to my parents. So I'm really inspired, and yes, just looking for somebody that will also be in a supportive capacity. But I am with someone now who is, so I'm not. It is not a call out.
I see. Okay, so good luck. Yeah, looking forward to hear the great news. Yeah, beautiful. And thank you everyone, and beautiful messages that you shared.